Gina Carano is suing Disney with the help and funding of Elon Musk. If you don't remember, Gina was let go from The Mandalorian after some comments on Twitter that were regarding the pandemic. Some were regarding Nazis, different types of questions. And then there's been this back and forth for a long time, whether this was justified or unjustified, mostly based on her comments. Well, regardless of what you think of Gina or her comments, we're going to take a different perspective today. We're going to look at the employee manual and the business conduct standards put out by Disney themselves to see if anything that Gina said breaks that code of conduct and therefore would have been a rightful termination based on what she said. With this lawsuit, she's not trying to get a whole bunch of money out of Disney. In fact, she's only suing for $75,000, but also is requesting or demanding her role be given back to her or she be recast in the show. This really is more about saving face than it is about the money. And for Musk, this is about free speech. However, when we talk about free speech, you are allowed to say whatever it is you want. That doesn't mean there's no consequences. And if your employer has a code of conduct or something that you've signed as a result of being an employee there, that doesn't mean you can't say what you want to say. But if it's seen to breach that contract, then it's rightful termination. So let's take a closer look at these documents to see if Gina actually has a case. Here it is, the Walt Disney Company and affiliated companies policy manual for U.S. production cast and crew as of March 2023. So you come down here, you get a note from Bob Iger, and then you have the breakdown of everything that's in this document. And you can see here's the cast and crew conduct, and it goes through all these different scenarios. Now, you can see some of these deal more with your interrelated relationships while on set or while part of Disney. So cast and crew conduct and performance, we're going to take a brief look at that page. And then you can see some of the other things here. Prohibition of harassment and bullying. And this is your normal kind of breakdown of what bullying looks like in the workplace and what sexual harassment and other harassment looks like in the workplace. You have confidential information. They can't be sharing different things. We're not going to look too much at that. We're going to first look at here, page 7. Then we're going to jump down to use of social media. That'll be where the majority of our time is spent. And it's going to actually send us over back to this standards of business conduct. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's first look at this cast and crew performance. Screenshot this and read all of it, but I'll also link it down below if you want to look through everything. But I just want to bring your eyes to a few things. We're going to first look at conduct. And it says this: while it is impossible to identify every type of improper conduct that may lead to discipline, cast and crew should be aware that the following behavior will subject them to some form of discipline and in some cases, immediate termination. This is what Gina has done fit this. Violation of any provision of this policy manual, the standards of business conduct, or any production-specific policy. Okay, so it's right at the front. If you violate these things, they're saying you could be immediately terminated. So, did Gina violate anything? Conduct toward the cast and crew members, supervisors, direct reports, co-workers, or anyone with whom the cast or crew members comes in contact while performing work for the company production that is unprofessional, discourteous, or disrespectful. Note, speaking about concerns in the workplace, including concerns about a supervisor or expressed to a supervisor, does not violate this policy as long as it is done professionally and courteously. Now, what I think Gina has said and done on social media, I don't believe breaks this. Some might say that while performing the work, she was unprofessional and discourteous in the things that she said on X. This is where I think if this is the rubric you're going to use, if number 2 is what's going to be stated that she broke, then you have probably a number of other instances. Pedro Pascal in 2017, with remarks he made about Trump, would fit into this as well, because I don't think they're going to mention things that are politically specific, but of course, many of Gina's comments were politically specific, or at least coming from that perspective and couched in that light. And if it's a Republican that's saying these things, we'll terminate them. And if it's a Democrat, we're going to let it slide. That's kind of the narrative that's being put forward. Is that true? That's for you to decide. But here, number 2, is what she's done unprofessional and discourteous or disrespectful? That's a huge, wide umbrella. The questions you have to ask is disrespectful to who? Disrespectful how? Can you not be disrespectful in any way, shape, or form? Or discourteous? We've all had moments where we probably would want to take back some of the things we've said or done that wouldn't rise to that level, but would maybe still be What if you don't tip? Could you be fired for not tipping? Because that's kind of disrespectful or discourteous to the person who is serving you. Where's the line? This is specifically talking about cast and crew performance, not on social media specifically. Disregard for any safety rule or procedure of any act of violence or other behavior that possesses risk of harm to the cast or crew. Doesn't apply here. Any act of theft, dishonesty, falsification, including falsification of time records, doesn't apply here. Failure or refusal to comply with a company directive, including refusal to participate in a company investigation or failure to complete mandatory compliance training. Here is where maybe you could make a case that there was training that was said to go forward for Gina because she put some things in her bio that people deemed as kind of mocking trans people and mocking gender identity and mocking those things. And so she was told that she would have to go to some sort of kind of workshop or training. This is a very familiar ground. Sounds a lot like what had to be done or is being pushed towards Jordan Peterson. And I'm sure they make the training, they decide what it is, and that's maybe the best case I think that Disney would have is here in 5. Or is there more? Let's look further. Misuse of any company benefit or perk, not here. Being under the influence of any intoxicating substance while working. It's interesting. I'm sure that that's happened many times and it's been overlooked. Circumvention of an established workplace protocol, operating guideline, or approval process. Improper conduct may be addressed by such steps as verbal counseling, verbal or written warnings, suspension and or termination as deemed appropriate by the company in particular circumstance. Cast and crew should keep in mind that nothing in this policy or in the company's production's implementation of discipline or performance management changes the at-will nature of employment, which applies to all cast and crew unless subject to specific written agreement that provides otherwise. Is this failure to refuse or comply with a directive enough? Maybe, if that's the narrative that Disney had pushed, but that's not. They did not give that as the reason. The reason they gave had to do with social media. Let's check their policy out regarding social media. So here's the social media policy for Disney employees. The company provides certain social media networks and other online publishing and discussion tools to allow cast and crew to communicate, collaborate internally. When using these platforms and engaging in other activities, they relate to the company's production business interest. Cast and crew must comply with these guidelines. Okay, so responsibilities when using company platforms to communicate, like Slack or whatever other things they use, does not apply here. What about responsibilities when using other social media? Maybe there's something here. Social media is an essential component in attracting, retaining, and engaging the company's customers and audiences. Cast and crew's online activities conducted on non-company platforms, but which relate to the production or the company's business interest, are also subject to company policies, including this policy manual. And we'll take a look at that in a little bit, because maybe there's something in there, or not. Cast and crew should never disclose confidential proprietary information such as production, financial information, performance metrics, blah, 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 blah. You can't talk about anything behind the scenes shows that would make us look bad, right? That's all this. Scripts, photographs, specific information, spoilers, this, that, and the other, all confidential. Casting, it doesn't apply here. None of that, what she did, is there. Cast and crew should not use live stream apps, TikTok, Facebook Live, YouTube, etc. while on set. Does not apply here. Cast and crew should consult with the applicable public relations representative for their segment production before posting any behind-the-scenes images. Does not apply here. Cast and crew should not use company production issued email addresses when posting. Does not apply here. Cast and crew may not use usernames for personal social media accounts that refer to the company or their production or imply they are speaking on behalf. Does not apply here. Cast and crew must follow the corporate identity policy, including not infringing on the company's or third-party intellectual property. Doesn't apply here. In online discussions related to company production, cast and crew should not imply that they are speaking for the company. Does not apply here. Reporting conduct, confident. So nothing, literally nothing, in the social media guidelines say anything about specific posts, specific conduct of posts, or the possible termination if there's something you post they don't like. Doesn't mention it anywhere. What about in the standard business of conduct? Let's take a look. The link I just clicked on takes us to the one from 2017, so it hasn't been updated. Or their policy manual from 2023 still references this. So while this may feel outdated because this is almost 6 years ago? Whoa, no, it's 2024. Now this was 7 years ago. I got to get my dates right. 7 years ago. Still not been updated. What about this? There's got to be something in here, right? Well, let's take a look at the table of contents. Our standards. Why we have standards of business conduct. Who is required to follow standards? What do the standards mean for you? Asking questions. Okay, we can take a quick peek at their standards here. Their integrity, trust, teamwork, honesty, play by the rules, respect. When we're talking about why they have standards of conduct, it's to help keep things a certain way when they have issues, employees. I mean, almost every employer has some kind of code of conduct. So did Gina Carano break this? Why? Why we have standards? Our standards of the business conduct or standards are a reflection of that commitment to provide you with the information you need to do the right thing on the job and preserve the reputation we have earned as an ethical company. Don't know that you've earned a reputation as an ethical company, Disney. Come on now. Come on now. Keep in mind, no document can address every situation you may possibly face in your everyday work. We rely on the use of these standards as well as our good judgment, not so much, to guide your behavior, to ask questions if you are unsure of the proper course of action. Who is required to follow? Pretty much all cast members. What standards mean for you? As a cast member or employee, you have the responsibility to act with integrity and honesty on the job, comply with all applicable laws, regulations, performing your duties, be familiar with the standards, share your concerns with conduct. So none of this applies to what happened in this case on a post from Twitter. We are committed to compliance with our standards. Anyone who violates them is subject to disciplinary action up to including termination. So they've said that already before. Our commitment to our guests and customers. They want customers to feel safe, to have the same quality, to protect privacy. Doesn't apply here. Continuing. Now, our commitment to each other, fairness, dignity, and respect. Oh, maybe there's something in here. Employees are the cornerstone of our magic. We're committed to an environment where everyone is afforded the dignity and respect they deserve. We don't allow any form of harassment or discrimination on the basis of race, religion, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identification, national origin, age, marital status, covered veteran status, disability, pregnancy, or any other basis prohibited by applicable law. Would that include political party? It's not mentioned. If you see or suspect any violation you feel yourself see a victim of harassment or discrimination, promptly report it. Is what happened here that Disney employees reported what Gina said on Twitter? Did they report her Twitter bio and say, I feel harassed? Even if that's the case, I still don't think you have grounds for termination the way that she was terminated based on this. I don't believe you can make the case legally, even if you disagree. I don't think you can make the legal case that what she did on Twitter is harassment of coworkers here. You're going to have different views and point of views of all your coworkers. Everyone that works on the set is going to have a different point of view. No one is really going to agree on every issue. Are we just trying to make it so that only the people that agree can work with Disney? can be in Star Wars. And again, the way that's written, I don't think it applies. You can keep reading. A diverse workforce. Our commitment to the company and the shareholders doesn't apply here. You can see that's the longest section so far. Play by the rules. Our commitment to lawful business practices. Again, trade secrets, competition laws, nothing of that applies here. Keep going to the next section. Our commitment to the community. Internal presence, labor standards, the environment, none of it applies here. Here's a glossary of terms, and that's it. Did anything in their policy manual, in their business standards, show that Disney has an actual case here? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. So the question then is, why didn't Gina come forward earlier? Well, why would she? Why would she put her money on the line and fight something that really isn't worth fighting? Like, she's not trying to get a bunch of money. Now she's just trying to prove that Disney can say we were wrong. That's what she's fighting for. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Are you fairly certain that Gina has no case, a case? Do you see something that I missed in these standards? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And again, I want us just to consider, is this by legal standards a possible case? And I think, based on what we've just looked at today, I think Gina and Elon, I think there's a case here. I think there's a good chance that they win. And does that mean Gina is going to be back in The Mandalorian? We'll have to wait and find out. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope this has been informative and helpful to you. Remember, the Force will be with you always. I'll catch you over on this video right here. Peace.